just a big, wide area, so they need as many as they can.
Marcel, thank you. We so appreciate it. Here now is Catherine Barger.
Thank you, Supervisor, for the introduction. I'd like to share some important announcements about the county's emergency alert system and the progress that we've made with our partners in addressing the alerts that have been going out in error. Late yesterday afternoon, we distributed a press release that details some of the immediate improvements that are now taking place. Copies of this press release are available at the front of the room. First, we have made an initial determination that the erroneous alert that went out the first time on Thursday from the Emergency Operations Center was indeed correctly targeted to the right recipients. We believe that the problem occurred in the software system that accidentally blasted this alert countywide rather than to the targeted recipients who needed to get the information to safely prepare to evacuate. As we drill down with our vendor to establish the root cause and apply corrective measures, we are taking the immediate step of changing our alert and notification system to partner with the California Governor's Office of Emergency Services and the State Alert and Warning Center. The county's Emergency Operations Center is already tied in with the state's Operations Center and can actively issue emergency notifications in coordination with the state utilizing the state system. Second, on the issue of the echo alerts that continued to go out countywide yesterday after the first erroneous alert was corrected, we've been working tirelessly with FEMA, the FCC, the state, and our region's telecommunications providers, and we've made the preliminary determination that the echo alerts happened as cell towers came back online after they were knocked offline due to this disaster. The outdated alerts were cached in the system, and as they came back online, started being released to the public. We are very grateful to our federal and state partners who are working with the cell phone providers to make sure that all of these outdated alerts are flushed from the cell phone towers so that this ceases. We believe this process is largely complete, and we are working with our federal partners and the providers to ensure that there is not a reoccurrence of the alerts going out in error. This has been frustrating, unacceptable, and the public is in the most need of accurate information, and we are moving forward rapidly to reestablish that. Finally, the press release spells out some of the immediate improvements that we are concurrently making to establish a more robust multi-layered notification system. We're enhancing 211 call network to respond to the public's urgent need for information. Technology, it can be great. These emergency alerts helped us evacuate hundreds of thousands of people in immediate life safety measures. We've undoubtedly saved lives. But the last couple of days have also reminded us that technology is vulnerable to the impacts of a disaster, especially unprecedented ones. So I will close by reminding everyone in the public, please, for your safety, the safety of your family and friends, to receive emergency alerts, you can sign up for our local program, which will be utilized by the state by going to Alert LA County. These are customized alerts. They are different than the wireless emergency alert. When you sign up, you can put landlines, your cell phone, you could receive text and email messages. Go to lacounty.gov/emergency to sign up for Alert LA County. With that, I thank you, and I'll introduce Fire Chief Anthony Maroney.
So good morning. I will be providing an Eaton Fire update. The fire is now estimated to be 14,117 acres with 15% containment, with over 7,000 structures damaged or destroyed. We have 2,832 personnel assigned to the incident, and it is static at this time. Elevated to critical fire weather conditions are predicted to continue through Wednesday. Moderate to locally strong Santa Ana winds will affect Los Angeles County and today, tomorrow, and then again on Monday through Wednesday. LA County Fire will be prepared. These winds, combined with dry air and dry vegetation, will keep the fire threat in Los Angeles County high. I would like to take this moment to express my gratitude to Board Chair Supervisor Catherine Barger, along with Supervisor Horvath, but also to all of the boards of supervisors for their support of my personnel on my department and me as a department head and fire chief. To our first responders battling these wildfires from the air and ground, we recognize and commend their tireless dedication in protecting residents and properties. And finally, to our residents, please rest assured that we will continue to battle these wildfires until they are fully contained. We stand alongside all of you as we begin to plan for the repopulation, the recovery, and the rebuilding. I would now like to invite up Todd Hopkins, Unified IC, CAL FIRE Incident Management Team for the Palisades incident.
Good morning. The Palisade incident is now at 21,596 acres and 11% contained. It is being in Unified Command with CAL FIRE Incident Management Team 2 coordinating the efforts. Ground crews and aerial assets worked through the night in the Mandeville Canyon area, creating containment lines and protecting structures, continuing a full suppression effort. Approximately 100 engines were surged into that area for direct suppression efforts and for structure defense. 6 night flying helicopters were utilized all night, and additional night flying resources were also ordered. It was an approximate 1,000 acres in growth last night in the Mandeville Canyon area. Early estimates from an aerial reconnaissance indicate approximately 5,316 structures have been destroyed. And please, what I want you to remember is that structures does not mean homes. Structures can be homes, outbuildings, RVs, automobiles, or other types of things like sheds or outbuildings. Damage inspection teams have been in the field surveying properties. As of this morning, it's confirmed 426 homes have been destroyed. We still have over 105,000 citizens that have been evacuated. There is a fire weather watch being issued for the next 72 hours. And tonight, there will be a community meeting at Calvary Westlake Church at 6:30 p.m. tonight. The address for the meeting is 5495 Via Rocas in Westlake Village. And next, I would like to introduce LA County Sheriff Robert Luna.
Thank you, and good morning. So this morning, our staff at the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department has increased to approximately 700. We continuously bring people in. We've shifted to 12 on, 12 off shifts in patrol, and we will continue to reevaluate that as the needs come up, not just in our area of responsibility, but the entire county of Los Angeles and our partner law enforcement agencies' needs. Just to reiterate, our missions include hard road closures, traffic control points, roving security, welfare checks, evacuations as needed at the request of our partners at FIRE. And from what I'm told currently, we are not performing any evacuations, but that can change at a minute's notice. And we're doing escorts for essential service needs like animal recoveries, medications, and things of that nature. Now, I want to take a couple of minutes to explain this so that hopefully everybody understands. An evacuation order versus warning. And I want to put this out to our community, some of them who have been significantly impacted. And we're trying to have as much empathy as we possibly can, but safety does come first. I would like to reemphasize that an evacuation order is a mandatory directive for residents to leave the area immediately due to imminent danger. Wildfire, floods, anything of that nature. Failure to heed our warnings can put individuals at risk and potentially interfere with emergency response efforts. You've heard me say it the last couple of days. Every miraculous story of a rescue or tragedies that we're encountering, the majority are people who did not heed the warning to leave or the order to leave. Failure to heed these warnings.
You have been listening there to the press conference ongoing with LA County officials, including Sheriff Robert Luna. Let's go back to Air 7 and Marcel Melanson. We, of course, will keep you posted with anything coming from this press conference. But Marcel, what are you seeing from your vantage point?
Well, Mark, when we came on about 45 minutes ago, we came on with a desperate plea for the Westgate community. And I mentioned to you then that we were in trouble, that we were getting this, what we didn't want to see was happening. The fire had made its way into Sullivan and Mandeville Canyon, and it was marching its way south. And we were looking at a community that was in dire need of some help, and the firemen were there waiting. None of the houses we initially were looking at in Westgate have been impinged by fire. They have virtually stopped the forward progress here where we saw it come out of Sullivan Canyon, and they did that by an aggressive air assault. We've seen up to 6 Type 1 tankers or heli-tankers dropping thousands of gallons of water on this particular spot and to give you some perspective, to protect the community of Brentwood here. And I was listening over to the fire department frequency. They ordered immediate need. This is the most important position in the state right now as far as this fire goes and as far as the threat level, and they got that help. Very lucky the Stone Canyon Reservoir is right nearby, so these helicopters are filling in return, load and return, load and return. They're on a couple-minute turnaround, and they are just knocking they're knocking the progress out of this, which is better than we could have expected. I couldn't hope for, and as I say that, here comes a Chinook dropping 3,000 gallons right in the head of the fire. So wow, what a thing to witness.
Yeah, that is fantastic to see, Marcel. I got to say, to be honest, listening to that press conference with LA County officials, I was somewhat surprised that they did not address the most immediate situation, which is this. They were referencing Mandeville Canyon, but they never specifically spoke about the fact that these flames are now approaching these homes and the active situation ongoing. I don't think they really addressed it. So I'm glad that you're there to give us these up-to-the-minute perspectives on the firefight and the situation there. So what do you think? To clarify, do you think the real risk now has diminished because of the water drops? Are these homes, if you could, say, are they safe?
I mean, I will say this. In a wildfire like this, you never can have absolutes.
Sure.
But I will say, with my experience and what I've seen just now today, I wouldn't call them safe, but I wouldn't say they're in immediate danger. If I'm the fireman that is above this house, I'm at a position of ready, but I'm not ready for battle per se. I'm saving myself for when that fire runs up that ridge line instead of being poised and keeping myself, because you saw it, Mark, you saw that we were looking at maybe 80 to 100-foot flame links here, and now we don't see any. We're not out of the woods. Brush fires have been known to turn back around, burn back through, spot ahead. There are some small flames still here, but the attention is here. They're ready, and by all intents and purposes, the siege that was headed towards Brentwood and the siege that was on this Westgate community for now has been basically slowed down by a valiant firefighting effort. These guys are just, I mean, they're relentless in trying to put this head of the fire out in this canyon.
Absolutely, it's commendable. And I mean, just a few minutes ago, we were watching those flames race down that hill towards the community. And after a few of those drops from the reservoir, I mean, we're not even seeing any active flames, not too many compared to what it was a half an hour ago. So that is very reassuring Westgate community, because you never know with the conditions that could change, the way that the flames could change as well. So we just never know. I do want to reiterate a few of the details that we mentioned in that press conference in terms of the Palisades fire. We now have an update on the numbers. We're seeing almost, 21,596 acres. That's how much has burned so far. It's still at 11% containment. They did mention there are about 100 fire engines in Mandeville Canyon to battle all of this. And we did see about 5,000 or so structures that have been destroyed. And that includes homes, vehicles, outbuildings. Confirmation on 426 homes that have been destroyed in the Palisades fire.
And certainly really concerning, as Chief Maroney mentioned, is that the elevated fire conditions are going to be going through Wednesday. It is Saturday. We got 4 more days of this to be concerned about when it comes to the fire conditions. Marcel, if you can, again, for our viewers, Marcel is typically a helicopter photographer there in Air 7 for us with Scott Reif Monday through Friday, so he's kind of doing double duty for us this morning. You gave us that great perspective of the whole area. If you can, for people maybe not familiar with the West Side and the Palisades, where all those homes burned, that is kind of in the distance to the left, correct? Where we lost all those properties this past week?
Correct. So if I just pan around with the camera, forgive me if you're a little bit, at the bottom of the screen here, this is the 405 freeway. So if I go to the left a little bit off of the 405 freeway, I'm going to run into where Getty Center is. And Getty Center is kind of sits atop the 405 right near Sunset Boulevard. And this is the community of Brentwood that we see here. And not too far west in the smoke over here, as it kind of borders Santa Monica to the south, this is the city of Pacific Palisades. That's where you saw that total devastation from Tuesday. They lost thousands of homes in that area. So, I mean, the community of Brentwood, obviously, you're on high alert, because after just witnessing that and hearing that happen, you're ready for the worst. And let me just come out and give you kind of the lay of the land here. Where you see over here, and you see this fire going, this is Mulholland Drive, and this is the community of Encino, just to the north of the fire. So we'll call this the north flank. And a lot of people see this north flank and say, oh my God, look at the fire's raging that way. But notice this fire retardant line here. What fire departments will do is take kind of a defensive stance, and they'll create an area that they say, hey, we're going to save this. We'll put a retardant line about it, and we're going to let it burn inside the box. It's going to chew the terrain up in there, but that fire retardant line, when it gets there, it's going to slow down or stop at that retardant line. That's what we saw last night up here on Mulholland Drive when it was going towards Encino. We still see this. It's still not out of the woods, because the winds could change in any direction. But let me go back to Mandeville and Sullivan Canyon, where the big firefight occurs. And why I do that, let me just mention, and I know Mark and I, we talk about this. A lot of people look at this and say, 11% containment, I believe the number was. Notice or know that containment does not equal control. Fires can have no flaming front and have low containment numbers, because a containment number is based on the separation of unburned and burned fuel around the perimeter of the fire. So it could be no fire. For example, the Hearst fire up in Somar right now is labeled at 37% containment, but it has no active flaming front. So please don't be worried when you hear these low containment numbers. Know that the fire department is doing the best they can to stop that forward progress and the flaming front. And I can't remember a time where I had the time to sit and watch and observe a flaming front like we just did here in Sullivan Canyon. We watched it creep and encroach on these houses, and we watched the air assault, and we watched them stop it for now. That was just it was impressive.
It was very impressive. It was such an immediate threat, and we watched those flames get closer and closer to those homes. Marcel, can you talk about how the reservoir there, it being so close, has really helped in this firefight?
Repeat that, Irene. I'm sorry, it broke up a little bit. It could get spotty up here. We're at like 10,000 feet.
Sure, no problem, Marcel. If you could just talk about how the reservoir there, it being so close to this Westgate community, has really played a part in the firefight.
Oh yeah, and forgive me, I'm going to look down here, but as you can see, as we talk about it, this is a Stone Canyon Reservoir, and this is where the firefighting helicopters are currently filling up. You see the CH-47 Chinook filling up 3,000 gallons in less than 2 minutes. The ability to load and return in less than 5 minutes makes all the difference in the world. Well, as we've seen, as these wildland fires chew through this terrain, as they pick up momentum, right? They get hotter, they start going faster, and they'll pick up that momentum because of the fuel bed that they're in. If they get the momentum, they get to the point where, like we've talked about, they'll start creating their own weather systems. But if you can stop the momentum, if you can get ahead of it and relentlessly pound it with water and water and water, you're going to be able to stop it. And so that proximity means everything for them to be able to use this as a active, I mean, the chiefs that are controlling this are some of the best in the world at wildland firefighting, and the strategy that they're using here with this aerial assault is just, I mean, it's impressive to see.
I do want to add a bit of new information from the press conference that's in the lower right corner. We are monitoring that. We have a crew there listening, so when something relevant is mentioned, we can bring it to you. We did just get word from LA County Sheriff Robert Luna. There are currently 13 missing people they have confirmed for the fires in LA County. 13 missing people. Now, let me clarify. The last count was 5 deaths related to the Palisades fire, 6 deaths related to the Eaton Canyon fire. So that would be 11 deaths combined, and currently 13 people considered missing at this point. So that's something that we're going to monitor and keep you posted with. What are you seeing down there, Marcel?
You know what? Sorry, Mark. I was listening to talking to the
Sure,
tower
absolutely. I know you're multitasking.
Yep.
What are you seeing down there?
What was the question?
Just what are you seeing? I see that little flare up.
Oh.
Well, what's going on there?
Yeah. So what we're looking at here is, let's go back to look at this overall perspective. So we're looking at
on TAC 26. Hey, night, Victor. Day, Victor.
Just for your information, I'm just trying to find LA County Fire communications so we can listen them together on the stream. It should be more interesting than ABC News, but let me just find it.
Oregon Task Force 8, 1360 Alpha, on TAC.
said, stand by. That press conference still ongoing. We are monitoring that with a crew at the scene at that press conference. We also want to go to Josh Haskell. He is on the phone right now. Josh, what perspective do you have?
Hey, Mark and Irene, good morning. Well, I'm very familiar with Mandeville Canyon, West Ridge, that section of Brentwood. My aunt and uncle actually live on West Ridge, which has been one of the communities that's threatened right now. And I just wanted to provide a little bit of context that a lot of people don't know this. If you ride a bicycle, you probably know this, that Mandeville Canyon is the longest dead-end road in Los Angeles. It's over 5 miles long. And because of all the smoke right now, it's really hard for us to see the homes that are way up that road. So it may seem like, okay, those homes on the top of West Ridge are in a good spot right now, and they were able to stop that fire. But myself, and I know others who live in Mandeville Canyon, people that I'm communicating right now, there is an incredible amount of concern about an area really referred to as Upper Mandeville Canyon, because it really is such a long road, and it is really difficult to see those homes from the air, even when there's not smoke. It's incredibly private. There's trees that basically cover Mandeville Canyon Road. Obviously, we know it's one way in, one way out, and there's a lot of, I've hiked in that area quite a bit, and it is just, you know, there's many places in LA that are not great for a fire, and I would put Mandeville Canyon on the top of that list. And I know that there's just a lot of concern right now about those homes way up there at the end. And it may be quite some time till we really have a sense of the status of those structures because what you're seeing is the homes on top of the hill, which is West Ridge, but you're not seeing what's down in that canyon, and that is Mandeville Canyon Road.
Yeah, absolutely. I have not hiked as much as you in that area, but I have hiked in Mandeville Canyon, and absolutely. I mean, look at the terrain there from Air 7. I mean, it's all through the area, so definitely a concern. You mentioned your aunt. I know it's kind of a breaking situation, obviously. Have you heard from them? Have any insight about their preparation, much like your parents from days ago? Any word on what they had to do? Because I do believe it was under a warning situation, an evacuation warning, and then last night it was upgraded to an evacuation order. Do you know what they did?
Yeah, they've been out of their home, I believe, since Tuesday, like a lot of people, because when you live in a high fire area, Mandeville, West Ridge, and there's a fire, you just don't take chances and you leave. I can't say that that's the case for everybody, but I know that my aunt and uncle left, I believe, on Tuesday night. And I know some other people that live in Mandeville Canyon who left on Tuesday as well. But I wanted to also share that just to show the dynamic nature of this fire, we have been shifting from neighborhoods that are devastated to active fire line. And as reporters, our assignments change based on what we find in the field. So 2 days ago, I knew that the fire wasn't that far from West Ridge in Mandeville. And this was 2 days ago, over 48 hours ago. And my photographer and I decided to go up West Ridge because I know the area. I wanted to check on my aunt and uncle's house and go up a little higher. And there's a fire road at the end of West Ridge. And when we went up there, in that particular moment, I was satisfied in the sense that, as Chris Christie and Marcel and others have been reporting, for almost a day or two, it was really burning in the Santa Monica Mountains, and the smoke was pretty far back in between Brentwood and Encino. At that West Ridge Fire Road, I saw a number of those inmate crews, and they were working tirelessly to cut away brush, open up that fire road, make fire breaks. There was an incredible amount of machinery up there at West Ridge Fire Road. This is something that they had been preparing for. We decided to not go live there because you couldn't really see flames, and it's obviously hard to get a signal up there. But I was able to check out the area, and I think that this just is a glimpse into the fact that it may seem completely out of control and we're very low containment and there are elements of it, but for a couple days, firefighters have been planning for this. They knew that at any moment the fire could move back towards Brentwood or move towards the valley. And so I can confirm that 2 days ago I saw crews preparing for this, making fire breaks, lots of bulldozers up there as well. And so I'm hoping that really plays a role. I was not able to go up to the end of Mandeville because it is that narrow, and I just cannot even imagine fighting a fire up that road because fire engines are going to be blocking the road. It's hard to maneuver. I didn't want to get in their way. And so I can only think that it must be pretty chaotic down there right now, and they're doing everything they can to save homes.
Yeah, Josh, we're really seeing the results of the preparation of all of those fire crews. This morning, we have about 100 engines in Mandeville Canyon, 6 copters that have been dropping water. So it's been very effective in terms of putting those flames out right on the fire line. So that is really good news in terms of that. So, Josh, thank you for your perspective. We certainly hope your aunt's house is going to be okay and the neighbors as well in this community.
Yeah, and Josh, before you go, you don't need to go in depth about this, but regarding Mandeville Canyon and, your aunt's neighborhood, did you fear that it would reach this location? You don't need to go in depth, but I was just wondering to get your perspective.
I think that living in Southern California, this is just something that we live with. And we know that it's beautiful and we love to hike and live in the mountains and have that life where you're not in the middle of the city, but it's close by. And it's a risk. And so I can tell you that everyone that lives up Mandeville, they have a really engaged neighborhood council and community Mandeville neighborhood group. They're constantly talking. They have plans in place. This is something they prepare for. There's brush clearance. I know that my aunt and uncle have done an incredible amount of brush clearance. These are not people that are not aware of the dangers of living there. But for a little bit of perspective, there are parts of this fire that where homes have survived that I thought would have burned. And then there's neighborhoods like Pacific Palisades, the Alphabet Streets, the Huntington, that I never thought would burn, and they're gone. So it just shows the unpredictable nature of this situation. If those homes survive, in Mandeville, and I hope all of them do, it's going to be quite some time till we can really get up there, because even on a good day without the smoke, it is a windy, hidden road with lots of kind of canvas brush trees over it. So it's hard to even see all of these homes tucked in there.
Well, we're hoping that all of them do stay safe and that the fire crews can get a handle on this, especially right where it's so close to that community. Josh, thank you. In the meantime, we do want to turn now to Eyewitness News reporter Monica DeAnda. She is live in Mandeville. She's been monitoring the situation all morning long, and it actually looks like the smoke has thickened where you're at, Monica.
Yeah, Irene, that is certainly the case. I'll step out of the way to give you guys a better look. We've been closely keeping an eye on that hillside that we're going to zoom in. Right now, the flames have kind of tapered down a bit, but they were picking up, and it was looking a little bit concerning. You can't see it as much, but the fire is actually burning downward, right? And this is Mandeville Canyon, where we're keeping a very close eye, because just to the right are these homes. So the fire would have to make, quite a little bit of a run here, but we're keeping a close eye, because when we got here at 5 o'clock this morning, that wasn't an area that was burning. So these hot spots have definitely been making their way down this terrain. And Josh mentioned something that I think is very important to say here, is that Mandeville Canyon Road, it's very windy, and that's one thing that I just got actually confirmed with the city fire officials. He just told me a moment ago that one thing that's making it very difficult to fight the fire in this area is the terrain. He says the topography, it's not ideal for firefighters to go in there, to get really deep in, because of the windy roads, because of the treacherous terrain out here. So I actually got the chance to speak with him about the fire conditions that they are seeing out here. Why don't we go ahead and take a listen to what he had to say.
We are requesting additional air assets that are coming in here. It's some very steep mountainous terrain, so this is not an area that our firefighters can access very well. So a lot of this we're hitting hard from our air operations. We also are utilizing our structure protection. We have over 3,700 firefighters who are on scene at this fire. So we're concerned because we are still having some 20-30 mile an hour winds, and we have some higher winds up in the higher mountain areas.
Now, as we come back out of here, I want to share a few things with you guys that we just got in an updated press conference a few minutes ago. We know that this area here, it has experienced 1,000 acres in growth over the Mandeville Canyon area, and that is according to a CAL FIRE official. We also know that they sent 100 engines to this area for direct suppression efforts. And even right now, we were continuing to see some engines move across this area, trying to, strategically make their way to different places across this topography. And you can hear some of the air support that we've been seeing here. We've seen water drops since 5 o'clock this morning, and we know that they continue those water drops overnight. CAL FIRE confirmed that to us. Now, one last thing I want to pass along, there is going to be a community meeting tonight at 6:30 p.m. at Calvary Community Church in the West Lake Village area. That's 5495 Via Roca. So that's one thing to keep an eye on. Back out here, again, we're keeping a very close eye because we're concerned, as Josh said, that Mandeville Canyon Road is very topsy-turvy, right? Like it's very windy, so you got to be concerned. People got to be ready. They got to be having their belongings ready to go. The spokesperson here with LA City Fire told me you got to have your stuff set and you got to be ready just in case you get that evacuation warning. And with that, Mark and Irene, I'll send it back to you.
Okay, Monica, thank you. Again, letting our viewers know this press conference in the bottom right corner of your screen is ongoing. We are listening to this with our news team, and we're going to give you some updates in just a moment. But first, we want to check in with Marcel. You do need to refuel soon, so we want to get one last check with you during this hour about the current state, what you're seeing. Give us the latest.
Yeah, Mark, thank you. I'm going to go back to this spot where the West Ridge spot and Sullivan Canyon, and just wow, Mark. I mean, we witnessed this happen, and I mean, nothing's for pause. We can't say that this is going to hold forever, but look at the job that they just performed there. It's just it was amazing to watch. I can say that was a positive. I mean, the people of Brentwood are not out of the woods, but it was headed their direction, and they definitely put out all the toys and had it happen. Now, obviously, we have to look at other areas here. This is what we were talking about earlier, this slop in the Mandeville Canyon. It's coming down where these homes are, and Josh mentioning how windy the roads are and how the number of homes in the base of Mandeville Canyon are more prominent than even the ones on top. So we're keeping our eyes on that, and we're also, just before we go, we want you to look at the northern flank, which is Encino area, and the hold that they have here at Mulholland Highway. Mulholland Highway, you see some of that red FOS check there on the side of the hill. That's also on the north side of the hill, and that containment line is holding. So we anticipate that'll hold. You'll see some big smoke come up there as it chews up some of that fuel in the box, but I mean, I can't say anything more than just impressed at what they did here at Sullivan Canyon, right next to the Westgate community.
Yeah.
Okay, Marcel, appreciate it. Thank you. You've given really invaluable information here over the past, well, more than an hour. So we thank you. Go refuel. Perhaps we will check in a bit. In the meantime, as I mentioned, that press conference ongoing. What another great water drop right there. You see Sheriff Robert Luna. We have some updates from the press conference that we can tell you. I told you we are monitoring this. We don't want you to think that we're not listening. Sheriff Luna is telling us specifically regarding the Eaton fire. Many evacuation orders have been downgraded. They continue to reevaluate the fire. We're being told that 57,000 structures still at risk. That essentially equates to 66,000 residents still under evacuation warnings. We can also tell you 400 National Guard members deployed across the LA region. We were told that these National Guard members, they are there for the blockades, making sure that streets remain closed off, especially with that curfew situation, making sure that these people stay out of areas that they're not supposed to be in. Absolutely. And we do also want to give you an update on the Palisades fire. We have new numbers in terms of acreage from CAL FIRE. It is now standing at 22,661 acres. Containment right now is still sitting at 11%. But as we mentioned, we do have a lot of resources here that are battling all of this. Just from our shot, we were looking at Mandeville Canyon. There are about 100 fire engines out there. We do have air support as well, 6 helicopters that were making those drops that were making a huge difference. And overall, overnight, there are about 1,000 acres in growth for that Mandeville Canyon area.
So there have been about 426 homes that have been destroyed so far in the Palisades fire.
Now, regarding the curfew that was in effect from 6 p.m. until 6 a.m., from that news conference that is ongoing, just got an update on the numbers of arrests that have occurred. 22 arrests between the Palisades and Eaton Fire, 19 from the Eaton Fire area and 3 from the Palisades. We're told that they were arrested because they were in areas that they were not supposed to be. From the arrest, there were 2 arrests for curfew violations. They were actually booked at police stations, we're told. Additionally, we're being told that there's going to be continued unified commands working together with different departments. They are using cadaver dogs to help find human remains. 13 people we have been told are considered missing from these fires. Again, the latest check was 5 deaths associated with Palisades and 6 with the Eaton fire. So that is 11 deaths and now 13 considered missing. That's a new number this morning. They're going to conduct systematic grid searches that will begin this morning. The searches will only take place while there is daylight. So that effort, it is ongoing and it's needed. You can think about the stress, the worry from so many people not knowing what has happened to their family members, trying to contact them, knowing that they were in a burn area, an evacuation area, and they cannot be found.
And we're also monitoring that press conference with Sheriff Luna talking about the events that have been moved from the LA area with all of these wildfires that have been going on. Sheriff Luna talking about that decision to move the Rams game to Arizona. He was saying that this is the right decision because of how thin resources are. I mean, they're sprawled all over the map right now, so we can completely understand why this decision was made. And we're watching all of the new information and listening in to give you the latest on that.
Absolutely. Okay, let's now go to Zach Fuentes. He is a reporter from our San Francisco station. He has been here in Southern California covering these fires. He is on the ground near Mandeville Canyon with the latest from your perspective, Zach.
Yeah, we're at Mandeville Canyon Road and Sunset Boulevard, that intersection base here on the Mandeville Canyon Road. And I'll just step out so you can see what we're seeing right now. Mandeville Canyon Road right here has definitely been the main artery for these fire crews and trucks to come in and out of. Right now, we've been seeing quite a few of them leaving and making a right turn here going down Sunset Boulevard. Or a left turn for them coming down Mandeville Canyon Road. And what you're also seeing as the camera pans over to the right are all of the people who have been waiting to get in since they believe the curfew was lifted. But right now, a police officer telling me with LAPD that they're only allowing people in for certain cases, medication being the situation where they're allowing some people in with an escort. So they're not just letting people in at this point. There have been a lot of people just chomping at the bit to get in here.